Welcome, welcome, everybody. We are waiting for it to show up. Oh, there's Mom.
Hi, Amar.
Well, as you can see, this is a little bit of a different episode. Um, I'm excited. Right next to me, of course, is my lovely mother, Susan Baird Joshi. I think that's a good way to put it. This thing is freaking out. We're gonna go over here. Okay, we're live on Twitch. And we are live on YouTube. All right. Well, should I just let you go, and then we can move on to another thing later?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Amar, for allowing me to be on your program. I'm really excited to be here. This is a new experience for me, so thanks very much. So my name is Susan Baird Joshi. I'm Amar's mom, as he said, and I have been working for several years on addressing climate change. And we have a great opportunity, all of us here in the United States, to make positive change to address climate change. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has been coming out with reports annually for several years now that the Earth is getting warmer. We're going to suffer more and more extreme weather events, more heat events. Our climate is definitely changing. Rain is less consistent, or less or more, depending on where you live in this country. That's creating a lot of hardship. Our air quality is poor, and in some urban areas it's really toxic. And then when you add in the emissions, the fine particulate matter from forest fires that we have been experiencing in Seattle now for several years, the air is dangerous, and we can't go out and breathe for many days out of the summer. So right now in Congress, this is 2021, so right now in Congress, there is a process that's going through called the budget reconciliation process, and Congress is trying to figure out how much money they want to spend and where they want to spend it. And there's an opportunity to get concrete legislation passed that will reduce the effects of climate change and put us on a path to slowing, halting, and eventually reversing climate change. That's my long-term goal, and I hope it is yours too. And it's called the budget reconciliation process. Now, you may have been hearing about this in the news. But what we need to do is persuade our senators and our representatives to include this legislation in the budget reconciliation process. And the policy I'm talking about is a price on carbon. So you know that greenhouse gas emissions have increased, and they have warmed our oceans, warmed our air. They're causing the warming of the planet, and that's what's creating havoc with our weather. And so right now there are bills in Congress to put a price on carbon. Carbon is one of the lead contaminants, one of the lead greenhouse gas emissions. And if we can start to reduce carbon, the ultimate goal would be to go to net zero or negative zero in our carbon emissions. Then we have a chance at slowing, halting, and reversing climate change. So what I would like you to do, and you can choose to do this if you like, but your voice matters. You have power in this. And that's what counts. Your voice matters. So there's a couple websites. There's actually one website, but a couple URLs. They're both basically the same. One allows you to send emails and make phone calls to your senators who are in Congress. They represent your state. And the other one allows you to contact your representative. So you know that our U.S. government is set up so we have, the judiciary, that's the Supreme Court and all the courts. There's an executive branch, that's the President of the United States, and currently that's Joe Biden. And then there's the legislative branch, and that's Congress. So every state gets 2 senators, and then in the House, the states are divided up based on population. So every state has different numbers of House representatives. So you have 2 senators and 1 representative. And this website allows you in 5 minutes or less to send emails to both of your senators and your representative and tell them to take action now on climate change. And the best way to reduce our carbon emissions is to put a price on carbon. It's as simple as that. So the first one we're looking at, I don't know if you want
to cut to that?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
All right, let's cut to that. All right, here we
Okay.
go, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Amar. So this is the website. This is based on citizensclimatelobby.org/Senate. This allows you to communicate with your senator, as you can see right there on the screen on the right-hand side. Now, the short abbreviated URL for this page is cclusa.org/Senate. So if you put that in your browser, and it'll take you to this page. So that's a little shorthand version of it, cclusa.org/Senate. So once you get here, you can see, now you kind of need to know, are you a blue state or a red state? Are you blue? Are you or a little more on the Democratic side, a little more liberal? Then there's a message, put a price on carbon in this year's budget reconciliation. If your senators are more conservative, if you're more a conservative state, then you may get a message that says targeting the red state message. And you can see those messages on the left side. But really, the system does the work for you. The system already knows, is your senator Democrat or Republican, or independent. We do have an independent in the Senate. I don't know if you knew that or not. He's a great guy too. But anyway, so when you go to this page, you'll see the button down there on the bottom, email and call my senators. If you click that, then you have to put in your street address. That's just your house number and your street number. And then you put in your zip code. Those 2 things combined, that's where you live. And that will tell you what your state is. And then so we aren't going to do that here, but because you got the message that there's an error, and they need a street address and a zip code.
We're not going to show our address.
So we're not going to do that. But what I will say is what happens after this, you put in your information, you click Find Your Senators, and then it goes to another page. And on that page, you'll need some information. You'll have to choose your prefix. So Mr., Mark could say Mr., and I would say Ms. or Mrs. or Miss. There's a few other things, but they're pretty gender-based, so you just have to choose one. And then you'll need your first name and your last name. Your email address, that's something that your congressman or your senator may write back and say, thank you for your email, I really appreciate it. And they're usually pretty good about that. Most of them will want a phone number. And then you'll need obviously your street address with your city, your state. Your city and state and street address will be popped in there in your zip code, but it will include that. And then there's another little button at the bottom. It says to choose to subscribe to CCL newsletters. You can choose to do that or not. And there's a radio button. It's very simple and clear. So you can decide if you want to do that or not. That's up to you. And then if you go to the next page, then you'll get the form letter. And the form letter is very short. It's like 2 or 3 sentences. And you can leave it at that, or you can put in a personal story. And by a personal story, I mean, I'll tell you a personal story that I have shared with my congressman and both of my senators. So when Amar was going to college, we were looking at colleges, and we drove over to Washington State University, which is in Pullman. That's on the Washington-Idaho border, right? Yep. And then we came back through the passes to Western Washington the day after fires went through the pass and surrounded Ellensburg. So there was some fine particulate matter in the air. And we drove back through that. There weren't any fires, but there was still a lot of fine particulate matter floating around in the air. And we had the vents open. Well, I got a lung infection from that. And I spent a week on the couch taking a very strong antibiotic to clear that up. And so now I have to pay attention to that. I'm very conscious of the air quality when I go outside, particularly in the summer. And I really am conscious of that now, because that affected my health directly. And the climate is affecting your health directly now. So that's just one example of a story that I tell. Another story you could tell is something that you've observed in your community. Maybe your school has canceled sports events outside. Maybe you walk to school every day and you have trouble breathing the air. You notice that you're walking past 4 or 5 blocks of cars that are in traffic and you're breathing in all those fumes. That's not good. That's really, really bad. Maybe you've had family members who have had severe experiences. It's up to you what you want to share. You can share a personal story, you can mention an article you've seen in a news blog or a report, or you can just use the same basic form letter, and it's up to you what you want to do. And then when you press send, it'll say, the website will say, thanks for contacting your senators. And then they'll ask you, would you also like to make a phone call? And you can choose to do that. And they provide the mechanism to do that too. They'll provide the phone numbers and you can dial on your phone. You may get a real person to talk to, and the website provides a little script that you can read, or you may just leave a message. And again, there's the website. It's a very short message, that script that you can use. But hearing from you is important, because I've been emailing them for years. I've gone to their town hall meetings, and they know what I'm going to say. They know I'm going to ask them about climate change. They know I'm going to talk about how this is impacting my health and my kids now. So they know to some extent my story when I show up. But they may not know yours. And that's why your voice is so powerful and so important, because you're new. And maybe they've heard from you once, maybe they've never heard from you at all. But now is the time for you guys to speak out. It's critical that you speak up. If we were here with a live audience, I'd say, do you have any questions? And then I can do that. But I guess Amar's going to record this, and if you watch it later, you can...
I hope we get some comments.
You can reach out to him or make comments, and we're happy to reply with more information. I also want to say, putting that website up, there is more information about how climate change is affecting different industries. If you just click on that Citizens Climate Lobby up there, there's stuff at the bottom. They have laser talks, which are really short one-page things that explain it. They're probably like 250 words. There's all sorts of stuff on there that you can look at, how if we have a price on carbon and then that money is collected by the federal government and then it's redistributed back to all taxpayers. So that means if you're registered, if you paid a tax in a household, or if you're included in a household on your parents' a tax form, for example, your family would get some money back with this carbon tax and then a dividend back to taxpayers. So that's a lot for me to talk about and kind of rattle off, and so I don't know if there's anything else. If you have any questions, Amar, or do you want me to?
Oh, I think that was stellar.
Okay, great. That's a lot of information. So yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that, folks. Well,